Happy Friday the 13th, my second favorite day of the year, the first obviously being Halloween. And to celebrate, we'll be looking at a comic book that pits two of horror's most iconic slashers, Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th and Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, in a winner-take-all fight to the death. So let's all place our bets, and I hope you enjoy the video. Crystal Lake used to be a place where people came to enjoy the wilderness, the calm summer nights, and maybe even fall in love. But that was all before Jason Voorhees. Fueled by rage, Jason came back from the dead to seek vengeance on those that killed his mother. Bound and shackled to the bottom of Camp Crystal Lake, Jason waited. Wealthy businessmen in the meantime are discussing dredging Camp Crystal Lake so it can be drained and then paved over for a new business district. Not sure how well that will sit with Crystal Lake's most infamous resident. The lake begins to be dredged, though the man hired to do it is a tad unscrupulous. "You're all fools, all of you. You'll wake him up with all this mucking about." An old hermit tries to warn the men of the dangers lurking deep within the lake, but it's too late. Far too late. The debris moved from the lake is loaded onto a train car where it will be sent to an undisclosed location. A homeless man boards the train with his best friend, unaware of the toxic waste aboard. "Hold on, Winky, this here's Tuesday. You know bath day's not till Saturday." Unfortunately for the homeless man, the train is carrying more than just toxic waste and debris. Jason Voorhees was also carried up in the waste, and now he's out to kill. The homeless man is startled by Jason's presence. He tries offering Jason a drink, but Jason, being straight edge, shares with the old man the cold hard steel of his machete instead. "My hand! You chopped off my hand!" Jason does more than chop the man's hand off when he lops off the upper half of his head with a swing from his machete. Winky tries to fight off the hulking monster, but not even a small dog is safe from the Crystal Lake maniac. The train conductors are enjoying a game of Go Fish when it's interrupted by Jason, who's more of a Texas Hold'em kind of guy. What the Mother of God. Jason snaps and slashes his way through the men. No matter what they do, there's no stopping Jason's rampage. The commotion causes the train to go careening off the tracks and explode in a ball of fire. But it'll take more than a train exploding to stop Jason Voorhees. The train took Jason quite the distance away from New Jersey all the way to Texas. Now he's in Sawyerville, home of the best barbecue in Texas. Meanwhile, a man is running through the woods terrified of something. He falls and lands at the feet of Jason Voorhees. The man pleads for Jason's help, but Jason isn't much for helping. Just then, Hitchhiker bursts from out of the woods, calling for his brother Leatherface. Leatherface revs his chainsaw, the man still terrified, not realizing the true danger he's in. Jason isn't there to protect him, but Jason isn't about to let someone one-up him. The two hulking brutes clash their weapons as Hitchhiker dances with glee. "Get him, Leatherface! Get that sumbitch!" Leatherface may have a chainsaw, but Jason is an unkillable monster, a hulking brute who's pure rage. Jason knocks the chainsaw out of Leatherface's hand, and with a swing of his machete, easily removes the head of the terrified man. He then does something unexpected when he picks up and hands the chainsaw to Leatherface. Hitchhiker introduces himself to Jason, but why isn't Jason killing them? What has caused Jason to go back against all he knows? Jason follows the deranged men back to their home. There they introduce Jason to Cook, a man who isn't much for visitors, that is unless the visitors bring with them their fresh kills. Hitchhiker mocks Leatherface for losing his chainsaw and allowing Jason to get the kill. This sends Leatherface into a rage and eventually to his room where he'll sulk. Leatherface is a special boy and very sensitive when it comes to being a cold-blooded killer. But this stirs something inside Jason. Remembering how he was when he was a kid, Jason sees himself in Leatherface. He relates to how Leatherface feels. Having to cover your face with a mask because you hate how you look? Jason in his own way helps Leatherface and brings him back down the stairs. "There you boys are. I was just about to call y'all for dinner." Cook is happy to see Jason and Leatherface are hitting it off. He introduces Jason to some of the other family members. Aunt Amelia, a living corpse both alive and dead. And Grandpa, the meanest old son of a bitch and most vicious butcher the Sawyer clan had ever seen. Why, if his body were still able to keep up with his brain, he still would be too. Cook asks Jason what his name is, and with a bowl full of blood and remembering his days back in school, Jason writes his name on the wall. Howdy, Jason. Welcome to the family. Jason dreams about the day he drowned in Camp Crystal Lake, attempting to call out to his mother. Jason, wake up. Stir your stumps and take your lumps. Time's a-wastin'. Jason doesn't like being woken up. Luckily for Cook, Jason releases his grip, as Cook has a nice breakfast of scrambled brains all ready for the family. But Jason isn't much for eating. Maybe he's one of them there vegetarians. There's no need to be calling company foul names. You got better manners than that, boy. Hitchhiker gets scolded for throwing food, but immediately starts to blame Leatherface. As Jason watches Leatherface get smacked around, he flashes back to the abuse he suffered from his father. Goddamn lousy freak. Cook takes Jason around for a tour of the house, showing Jason the kitchen, the place where all the real magic happens. Cook then divulges something to Jason that he's never told anyone before. As much as he loves his barbecue, what he really wants is a nice fancy restaurant. Then he'd make enough money to buy a double wide, and the only thing he'd have to worry about is when Wheel of Fortune comes on. Hitchhiker calls over to Jason because he wants to show him something. He brings Jason out back to show him his old dog Sparky. You gotta excuse Sparky, he don't mind worth shit nowadays, but I gotta admit, he was the bravest damn dog in the world. Poor Sparky was actually the victim of an overzealous hitchhiker with a gun. With all the sentimentality in the air, Cook tells Hitchhiker to get his ass down to the gas station. Oh great, we're almost out of gas. I have eyes, Ethel. I know we're riding on empty. A middle-aged couple, Ethel and Fred, are nearly out of gas, but lucky for them, they find a gas station. A gas station run by the Sawyers. Howdy, what do I do you folks for? A nervous Fred asks Hitchhiker if he can fill up the gas and check under the hood. Hitchhiker checks under the hood alright, but Fred and Ethel don't realize the trouble they've put themselves in. Hitchhiker gives the couple directions to get back on the main road, but he knows he'll be seeing them very shortly. Hitchhiker bolted back home to grab Leatherface, but Cook tells him to take out Jason this time instead and show him how they do things around here. Fred and Ethel's car barely lasted a mile when Hitchhiker catches up to them. Anything the matter, folks? Before Fred can give him what he deserves, Hitchhiker bashes him in the head with a hammer. Ethel attempts to run, but doesn't notice the hockey-masked monster standing in her way. Jason picks up the woman with one hand and instantly breaks her neck. Hitchhiker gets annoyed because Jason kills too quickly. There's no having fun or savoring the moment. They bring the bodies back to Cook, who seems disappointed they're so old. Darn, I was hoping we could get some youngins this time out. Their meat's so much more tender. With the day's work out of the way, Hitchhiker takes Jason to a shed out back, and inside are various art projects and furniture all made out of human bodies. A reading lamp, a rocking chair, and for the holidays, a Santa Claus with a red light-up nose. Hitchhiker has put a ton of work into his morbid creations, but it only takes Leatherface mere moments to destroy the chair. You clumsy sumbitch. Hitchhiker begins to beat Leatherface over the destroyed chair. Jason flashes back once again to his father beating him because Jason can't control who he is. It wasn't his fault he was born the way he was, but lucky for Jason though, he has a mother who's willing to do anything to protect her special boy. Jason grabs Hitchhiker by the wrist and sends him flying across the room. He offers Leatherface a hand and helps him up. Jason doesn't know the kind of people he's around. They're not like the camp counselors he butchers every summer. Hitchhiker begins to slice into his own hand, claiming he's invincible and nothing can hurt him. Jason decides to test this theory by threatening to stab him with a bone he pulled off the floor. Before he can, however, Leatherface stops him. His brother may be an ass, but it's still his brother. Hitchhiker mocks Jason as he leaves, calling him a chicken, and then gives Leatherface an earful for trying to protect him. Jason is beginning to be flooded with emotions he doesn't understand. All he's ever known is hate and anger. He yearns for simpler times when it was just the cold, sharp steel of his machete and the screams of camp counselors doing something they shouldn't be. Cook talks with Jason about the family photo he found. His sister Velma died years ago, and he promised to look after her boys, Hitchhiker and Leatherface, who were not just her sons, but also her brothers. But enough reminiscing, it's time for supper. The family all ready themselves in the dining room, but Leatherface made the mistake of getting fingerprints all over Hitchhiker's Iron Man #1, not knowing how much it could be worth a few decades later. Hitchhiker, being the calm, cool-headed guy that he is, decides to once again attack Leatherface, and once again, Jason intervenes. He sends Hitchhiker flying into another chair, and now things are beginning to heat up. Hitchhiker stabs Jason in the chest, but to his horror, it's as if Jason swatted away a fly. Jason grabs his machete as Hitchhiker runs off screaming, "Bubba, quick, go get your saw!" Jason continues chasing Hitchhiker down, decapitating Aunt Amelia in the process. This pisses off Cook now, who also gets in on the offensive. He rams a meat cleaver into Jason's back, but it does little to stop him. Jason chases the men down as they run into the smoker. It doesn't matter where they go or where they hide, because Jason will find them. Jason has the men cornered when a familiar noise can be heard coming from behind. Leatherface comes bursting into the room, swinging his chainsaw like a madman. "Get him, Leatherface! Get that sumbitch!" Leatherface comes at Jason with the saw, but Jason doesn't want to fight him. Well, until Leatherface slices him across his stomach. Jason thought he found someone like him, someone that was different, but there is no one like him. As twisted as the Sawyers are, they still love one another, and there's nothing Jason hates more than love. Jason and Leatherface clash, with Jason starting to get the upper hand. Hitchhiker intervenes and smashes Jason in the back of his skull, sending him to the ground. "You reckon he's dead? He's got brains leaking out his ears. How the hell can someone be alive and have that happen?" The family ponders what they should do with Jason's body, and Hitchhiker suggests they eat him. But Cook doesn't think that would be a good idea. Jason was a good boy who just had no right getting involved in family affairs. Instead, they decide to give Jason a proper send-off. Later that night, they bring Jason to the nearby lake. They tie a cinder block around his ankles and send him down to his watery grave. Jason awakes and cuts himself free. He wonders if he should go back and take his revenge on them one by one. He really could have killed them at any point, but wonders why he didn't. Instead, he decides to leave the family of cannibals and head back to the only place he knows as home, Camp Crystal Lake. This was a very interesting book. Honestly, I don't think the Sawyer family would have lasted the first panel of the comic, never mind 70 plus pages. Leatherface may have a chainsaw, but he is just a normal guy. Jason by this point was an undead body-hopping monster, as it's clearly the Jason Goes to Hell Jason, so there's no way these inbred hillbillies were stopping him. But they had to do something with the story, and trying to humanize Jason and give him someone he can relate to, I guess, is one way of going about it. Still though, it's an oddity, and seeing Jason just kind of get bored at the end and walk back home is kind of funny. If you want some more Friday the 13th goodness, I have a video where I ranked every death in the Friday the 13th franchise, and if you want to check it out, well, you can find it right here. Anyways, I hope you have a fun Friday the 13th. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video, and stay spooky.
Never come back again.
Oh, shut up, Ralph.
It's got a death curse.